What's up guys, in this video we're gonna talk about lesson 1, introduction to programming for our MTA 98366 software development certification. So what you learn in this lesson, you'll learn about computer programming, decision structures, repetition structure, and exception handling. So what is a computer program? A computer program is a step of instructions to complete a task for a computer. What is algorithm? An algorithm is a set of order and finite steps to solve a given problem. Okay, so let's say you have a problem. A problem is kind of any project. Displaying the sum of two numbers, that's a problem, and there are ways you can solve it. So there will be a precise step to solve a given problem. Flowchart. A flowchart is graphical representation of an algorithm. So what symbols we have in flowchart? We have start and stop. We have process, rectangle for the process. Input and output, diamond for decision, and then we have the flow. So these are the 5 symbols that we use to create a flowchart. So let's see an example of a flowchart. So in this flowchart or algorithm, we are trying to display hello world. So we'll start, then we have a flow, we'll output hello world, and then stop. So that's our flowchart. Understanding structure of a C# program. So let's see our first example of how a C# program looks like. So this is a typical program, a very basic program where you display your name. We have namespace, we have a class, we have static void main, and console.writeLine. So think namespace as the country, program or the class as the state, and the static void main as the city. Because namespace and class helps you to organize your code. We'll go in more detail in next few lessons for these topics. Here console.writeLine Anand Patel, that displays my name, that gives an output of my name. You need to understand that static void main, that's the default entry point of a program. That could be your certification question. Let's see, our next topic is variable. What is a variable? A variable provides a temporary storage during the execution of a program. The syntax of creating a variable is, there are 2 types. First, data type and then variable name. Second, data type variable name equals to value. Let's see an example. An example of variable is integer a. We're going to talk about int in the next slide. So the other way we can create a variable is integer a equals to 10. At that point we have assigned a value to variable a. Data type. So what is data type? A data type specifies the type of data that you can work with in a program. So data type maintains or specified what kind of information you can store in that variable. So we have integer, float, double. In integer you can store whole numbers, you can store negative numbers, positive numbers, but it should be a whole number. In float you can store a fractional numbers, negative, positive, zeros, you can store fractional numbers. Double, again you can store a fractional number, but the difference between a double and a float is in double you can store the decimal number up to 8 precision value. So here we have an example where it stores 0.00000001. So that is the precision level in double. Then we have char. Char stands for character. You can store only single character in that data type. So you can have either A, B, C, any symbols or a number, but that would be only one character. String. String is anything in the text format. You can store numbers, but that will be in the text format. You can store your name, you can store the paragraph, you can store the description of a product, that all will be in the string format. Boolean, it's true or false. So there are only two possible values for a Boolean. It can be either true or false. Constant. Constant are data field or a local variable whose values cannot be modified. So let's see an example or the syntax of how to define a constant. You just write const before declaring a variable. So const data type variable equals to value. Let's see an example. Constant double pi equals to 3.14. We don't want other developers to change the value of pi because it's going to be constant and it will be constant. So whenever you want a variables whose value cannot be changed during the program, define them as a constant so they won't be changed or modified while the program is executed. Array. Array is a collection of same data type and its value can be accessed using index. So when we want to have a group of same data type, we use array. The syntax for declaring an array is data type square brackets. In the square brackets, you can define the size of an array and then variable name. The other way you can do is data type square bracket variable name equals to value itself. Let's see an example. int square bracket number. In this square bracket, you should write the size of the array. Integer, let's see an example too. Integer square bracket numbers equals to 11, 22, 33, 44, 55, 66. So over here, if we want to access a value, let's say 22, it should be at the index level 1 because the index in array always starts at 0. So let's see an example. To access the value 33, we would need to use the index value 2. So let's go here. Over here it always starts from 0. So 0, 1, 2. When we say number 2, we want to get the third value in an array. Operators. Operators are the symbol that specify which operations to perform on an operand before returning a result. Let's see what type of operators we have. Unary operators. So those are variable name plus plus. That means it's going to increase the value of x by 1. We have another one that's x minus minus. That's going to decrease the value of x by 1. Multiplicative. It's multiplication, division, and modulus. Additive, that is plus or minus. Then we have relational operators, which is less than, greater than, less than or equals to, greater than or equals to. We have equals to. So if you want to compare two values, it should be equals to equals to. When you want to make sure that those values are not equals to, you use exclamation sign and equals to. These are conditional and or. So 2 ampersand sign means and 2 pipe sign means or. We're going to discuss this in detail while we create our projects. Decision structure. In C# programming, a decision structure makes an ability for a program to make a decision. So two types of decision statement, if else and a switch. Let's have a look at if else. In if else, there are three ways you can use if else. You have first one, if. Here is an example where you have if statement and then a condition. If that condition is true, the code segment written in the curly brackets after that will be executed. Then we have if else statement. In this, if a condition is true, again the code block written between those two curly brackets will be executed. If this condition is not true, this code block will be executed. We have if, elseif, and else. Over here, you can check the condition of if. If that is not true, it goes down and check another condition. And then if that condition is not true, it will run this else block by default. Again, we'll understand this more while we are creating the projects. Switch. Here is an example of a switch statement. You can have multiple conditions in switch. This basic structure of a switch is you write a switch keyword and then your operations or the case which it's gonna match. So here we have plus, minus, multiplication, and division. Those are the cases. Again, we'll learn in detail while we are doing the project. Repetition structure. So there are 4 types of repetition structure. First, while loop, do while loop, for loop, for each loop. So let's have a look at a while loop. In a while loop, you write a keyword while and then your condition. This loop executes until this condition is true. Do while. In do while, the first time the loop is executed and the condition is checked at the bottom. So this loop is used when you want to make sure the loop executes at least once. For loop. For loop, we have 3 expressions. First one is initialize, then we have a condition expression, and then we have a counter expression. It can be x plus plus, x minus minus, or x equals to x plus 2. So you can do any kind of increment, decrement or in a counter. This loop executes until the given condition expression is true. For each loop. For each loop is used to iterate through the elements, the collection of elements. So here we have element type, element in collection. Again, we'll see an example of for each loop while we do the projects. We have the next topic is recursion. And recursion is when a function calls itself. It's a programming technique in which a method calls itself. Exception handling. An exception is an error condition that occurs during the execution of a program. Handling an exception. There are 3 ways you can handle the exception. There is try, catch, and finally. You use the try block when you think there will be an error in a block of code. Catch. Catch is what to do when you have an error. Finally is a code that must be executed regardless of error. So that means the code that should be executed whether you have an error or not. So let's see an example. Try. So here is our try block. We'll write a try keyword, put the curly brackets, and we'll write the code that we think we might have an error. Catch. Here we have a catch, exception E, curly brackets, code that should be executed if there is an error. For example, when you divide any number by 0, you get an error. So you can handle that kind of error in catch statement. Finally, a finary block of code is executed regardless of having an error. So a use case would be closing the database connection. That should be done regardless of having an error.
Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to this channel.